Hello, ITRTs and IT Tech miracle workers. This is your friendly neighborhood DDOT, which stands for Division Director of Testing. What I do is I work with SOL testing at the division level and support you and school level STCs to monitor testing and ensure that everything is running smoothly and seamlessly. So, what I offered the STCs to do is with all of your schedules and trying to get into different trainings at different schools, I told them that I would create a training for you so you could watch it on your own time. And then you can email me once you finish the training, and I can send you the test security agreement to sign and send back to me. That way, you've all seen a training, and we've taken into account that your schedules are a little crazy. You all are everywhere, depending on needs. So, once you have watched this video and you feel comfortable with it, send me an email saying that you've watched it. I'll send you the form, you'll sign it and return it. And then, of course, I'll be available for any questions you may have. Much of this presentation I'm going to skip over, but I thought what would be helpful would be for you to see what the school test coordinator saw in our training, especially the parts that apply to you. Okay, so we have the test implementation manual. That's the really big document that all the STCs in the division receive. In there are ways to combat testing issues, what to do for accommodations, all of the things testing. What will apply to you will be the troubleshooting section. That is also included in the examiner's manuals. You can go to the different pages and I'll show you where it is. But you can go to the different pages and it'll give you common pop-up issues, common issues with testing to troubleshoot, and ways to address that. The STC responsibilities. So I said each school has an STC. So what does that mean? That's the person at that school who is designated with the responsibility for all things testing, which includes maintaining test security, implementing test procedures, and providing the appropriate training for everyone there. They are responsible for reading all the test prep, knowing the policies, guidelines, procedures, and basically just being in charge of testing at the school. So if you have an issue, more than likely you're going to be speaking to the STC at the school. If there's an issue that then requires me, you or the STC's then going to reach out to me and either let me know what's going on, or a lot of times I can go into Pearson and I can see what's wrong or what the issue might be, and then we can work on fixing it. Just so you know, there are some new technological things that will be on Pearson. There have been some bugs, so we'll see how this works. But there is a online writing extension. You can use speech to text, and you can use word prediction. There's an online dictionary, especially for students who are English language learners. Like I said, there have been some bugs and they're working through that. I have sent some information out to the STCs and principals regarding that. So if you run into any issues there, we should have information to help us figure out what to do moving forward. Okay. If you have access to certain areas of Pearson, you can go in and get different types of training. I'm not sure that you do, but I did want to throw this out there should you have access to do that. Now I'm going to scroll through some things. All right. It is very likely that when you're in a testing session, someone's going to call you and frantically say, my student says their pencil in the math SOL is not working. Well, what we have found is and we know our students change their screen background color. Well, when you do that, that impacts the color of the pencil. So you can see in these two screens, this is written over here, but you can see the difference between what you can see here and what you can see here. And it is entirely due to the black background. So if you get a frantic call from an examiner, you get somebody who isn't really thinking clearly about this, you will know, hey, we got to change the background of the screen. It's not the pencil. Just to give you some other examples. So you can see here's the white pencil. There's the dot that it made, and there's the dot that it made there. So it is very likely someone could reach out and say they can't see it. And then one more, you can see here are the halos. The compass point could be hard to see with this background. So just be aware of that as you are working with examiners and students. For audio tests, if there's any issues with audio, they have updated the voice that speaks, so it's less robotic and sounds more human. Let's see, let me get down here. This is the test security part where we talk about the no-nos and all of those different things. Now, please know this is not because I assume that you all are going to be doing anything or that any of you have done anything. But it's nice to hear the same message as a reminder. It's just like I tell the STCs. This is going to be the same information you heard last year, but it's not a bad reminder for you to have because even I need the reminders. So, cell phones and electronic devices. While you're in the testing room, no one is allowed to have electronic devices. That's a smartwatch, phone, all of those things. Now, we fully recognize that in order to solve a testing issue, you might need to get your cell phone and make a call to someone in technology. My advice is this. If it's a whole room issue, absolutely, you can make the phone call from the classroom. There's also going to be a phone there that you can use instead of your cell phone. So you can make the call from there. However, if the room is testing and there's just an issue with one student and you aren't sure what to do, I'm going to ask that you then take that computer out of the testing room to make your phone call and do whatever fix you need. Unauthorized materials. This is just an example of other things that aren't authorized. What I wanted to point out here is calculators. So if you have a teacher or an examiner who contacts you and says, the calculator is not showing up. That's not necessarily a technological issue. You're going to take that to the STC because that's going to be something they look at in Pearson to see if the accommodation has been appropriately clicked. All right, test security. This is the stuff that will get you in trouble very quickly. Well, any of us in trouble very quickly. There is a school division personnel test security agreement. It needs to be read, understood, and you must agree to adhere to the agreement. So you'll sign it. Anybody who will be accessing any testing materials must sign an agreement form. So you're going to be going into a kid's test when the pop-up comes up that there's a problem. That's you. So you're going to have to sign one of these. Without exception, all secure testing materials must be kept in a secure, locked storage area at all times. And nobody, not even myself included, the STCs, no one, can use a test ticket to log in as a student to address an issue. Now, this becomes a problem because the VDOE and Pearson don't talk to each other. So Pearson doesn't know all of the big test security things that the VDOE tells us to do. So when you're troubleshooting things with Pearson and Pearson doesn't know all of these different things the VDOE has told us to do, Pearson may advise you to do something that violates test security. Anytime you have a question, just ask. But only the students log in as the students on their test tickets. If someone asks you, hey, can you take this test ticket? No, that needs to be handled by people who are examiners or proctors or the STC. That just keeps you safe. You can see that there are lots of other test security things to discuss that we always talk about with all of our examiners and our teachers. One thing that you may be involved in, I guess, would be don't leave anybody unsupervised as far as testing goes. So if you take a student out into the hallway to fix their Chromebook and you need to walk somewhere in order to address it, don't leave that student there, take them with you. And it just allows us to make sure that they aren't accessing any unauthorized materials. Irregularities happen. We know they happen. Hopefully we get fewer and fewer of them each time, but I thought it might be helpful for you to understand what an irregularity is. And it's any occurrence during a test administration that meets one of these criteria. It can inappropriately influence student performance, either for the good or for the bad. It inappropriately influences the reporting of student performance, constitutes a breach in test security, or results in the improper implementation of mandatory student testing. If you suspect an irregularity or you have a question if something is an irregularity, stop what you're doing and ask your STC immediately. If the STC doesn't know, they're going to reach out to me, and I'm going to be available, and I'm going to share my opinion on it. I want you to be comfortable in helping examiners, but I also want you to understand what kind of parameters we're working in here with the VDOE. If there were to be a violation of test security, and I'm sharing this with you because the VDOE has required us as of last year to do quote unquote investigations if there are test security issues. And I tell you this because if an issue pops up and I call you and I start asking questions, please know it is not because that I'm assuming that you've done anything wrong. It is just because this is what's expected by the VDOE. I have to provide this information to them when I go in to do the irregularity or I communicate with them. They're going to ask me for my investigation information. If I'm able to tell them that, then it goes quickly, it goes smoothly, and things work out. So just know moving forward, if something happens and I have to call you and I have to say I'm investigating it, just know there is no presumption that you've done anything wrong. This is what the VDOE requires in order for me to get an answer. And here are the 4 different things I am expected to do in a test security investigation. I'm going to go through these because you don't need all of these. Let's see. We will have students taking expedited retakes again this year, so there will be regular testing days and then there will be retake testing days. I would ask that if you anticipate any kind of technological issue that might be systemic or related to a particular school or anything like that, don't allow them to start testing until we figure out what the problem could be. Because if we get a group of students testing and the network goes out, that could create an irregularity situation. Now, obviously, you can't control, none of us can, if the network goes out. But if we know there are going to be issues or our provider is going to be doing something wonky with the system, we can know that and either communicate with the provider or communicate with me, and we can talk about testing issues. Right. Let me go to here. I want to make sure that you know how to reach me. My office number is here. If I'm not at my desk, then my office number is forwarded to my cell phone. My cell phone, it is okay to use if there are any specific questions. As a reminder, you're going to go to the STC first because they're going to be able to help you at the school level. And then if needed, you can come to me and I can help. My job is to make your job as easy as possible during SOL testing. I'm here to support, I'm here to answer questions, but through the STC. All right, that is the long and short of it there. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to email me or call me. I will send you an email. After you watch this, send me an email telling me you've watched it. I will then send you an email with the test security agreement attached. For Dan and Kathy, you may have already signed one, and if you signed it for the year, then you're good to go. If you're not sure, we can sign another. It's not a big deal. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. I appreciate all that you do to help testing run smoothly, and let's knock it out.